Hello, my name is Sarah Lustig. I'm a licensed therapist and spiritual coach and holistic healer. It's so nice for you to join me today. Last week I talked about attunement and empaths and how they learn to attune to their environment when they grow up, and attuning to sometimes the dysfunction with their family and their parents. In these cycles, empaths learn how to connect with other people very deeply. They learn how to connect to their environment very deeply. So I just wanted to, review some of the points from that video that empaths are really good at attuning to the pain points of other people. And when their parents couldn't attune to them, they learned how to attune to their parents, and they learned how to attune to their environment. And this became a deep sensitivity for them, which is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful gift, but it can also create a lot of overwhelm. And that's generally the challenge that most of the women come to me. They start with just feeling really overwhelmed in life, feeling really overwhelmed by the amount of responsibility they have, by the amount of people who have demands of them. They have trouble setting boundaries and trouble saying no to other people. Trouble feeling guilty if they do try to set boundaries, or if they take time for themselves or try to prioritize themselves. So, this trouble with attuning when you're an empath is that you are often, you're attuning to other people, but you're unable to actually attune with yourself because you're constantly taking in so much information about other people. It becomes very hard to sift through all of that and actually attune to yourself. So this creates different patterns of self-sacrifice, different codependency patterns, different behavioral cycles of emotional enmeshment and people-pleasing, getting caught in over-apologizing or enabling other people's behavior because you know that they're hurting, or you know that they're having a stressful time, you know that they're going through hardships, and so even though they're treating you unkindly, you continue to allow that to happen and thus enabling their behavior. And while that's understandable, it's important to focus on yourself and learn to attune to yourself. One of the biggest challenges of learning to attune to ourselves is when we've been learning to attune to everybody else in the environment around us, learning to try to attune with ourselves can actually feel very unsafe. It can feel very dangerous or threatening to our body. That's how it is read energetically, because we are disconnecting from other people, and that's a source of comfort in life to be connected to other people, but it's also something that can really get in the way of our relationship with ourselves if we're not aware and in balance and harmony with these different parts: our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with other people and different humans that are a part of our lives, and then we also have a relationship with the divine. And so we want to be aware of those relationships and how we can be in attunement and alignment with all of those parts of us. And so being aware of the cycles that can come up with codependency for empaths who are really sensitive and highly attuned to the needs of others, and that learning to attune to yourself can actually be really uncomfortable at first. There's nothing wrong with you if that's the case. It's that when you are so used to chaos, and that's what you're generally attuning to, other people's emotional chaos, physical chaos, then the peace within yourself that you're trying to find can feel really destabilizing. And when you get to a place where you're actually able to access that peace, it can feel very uncomfortable, which can put us back in those cycles of, codependency and over connecting with other people and their problems and their emotions in order to avoid our own and to escape the uncomfortable sensations that we may be feeling in the body as a result of over attuning to other people. And so we want to just hold compassion for those parts that might have difficulty with the transitions of attuning highly to other people and learning how to attune inward, being really compassionate for this challenge, and that it's a process that comes in time, that, especially if you grew up with childhood trauma, you want to approach yourself kindly and with a lot of grace and patience, and knowing that if you have been abandoning yourself and self-sacrificing, then you might not trust that you're going to be present and show up for yourself. And so being able to really repair that relationship with yourself, and that takes time. So trying to disconnect from this external chaos that's happening and start to go inward. And this is known as interception, where we learn to perceive what's happening within us instead of going outside and looking outside for the answers. Oftentimes, empaths don't want to go within because there is so much discomfort that's happening. If they're experiencing, high functioning anxiety, they're going to have discomfort in their stomach. It's going to have a lot of anxiety that lives in their lower chakras, root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus. There's also going to be a lot of tension or tightness in different parts of the body, often in the heart, in the throat, different migraines or tension in the jaw, things like that might show up. Physical sensations that are really uncomfortable for people who are highly attuned, and that's why they are used to numbing and kind of dissociating from these emotions. And so learning how to get curious about those sensations, learning how to work with those different sensations and understand the messages of those, and learning how to get comfortable being by yourself and being alone. Empaths are so highly attuned to others that they are constantly reading that energy and picking up what other people are feeling and thinking and experiencing in the world. And so if you don't have a chance to be by yourself, you can never really separate yourself from what other people's that you're picking up on. And so this is something that I help the women that I work with do, is understand how to protect their energy, how to cleanse their energy, how to separate their energy from other people. These are really important parts of being able to actually attune to ourselves and hear and experience ourselves clearly. And so learning how to read these different parts of us and work with them, and also setting boundaries. That's a big challenge that the women that come to me are grappling with in their lives, is not feeling guilty setting boundaries and then being able to continue to hold their boundaries. We tend to have this idea that we can just kind of set our boundaries once and then we can forget about them and we can move on and everything will be fine. And that's not true. We actually have to work at our boundaries and continue to set them. And boundaries that you needed with somebody a year ago may not be the boundaries that you need with them now at this point in your life. And so just knowing that attunement is being aware with what we need in every given moment. And so being in the present and being aware of, just because we had a certain kind of boundaries a year ago, in this present moment, we might need different boundaries, and knowing that that's perfectly okay. And so learning how to, read those situations and understand the nuances of boundaries, how to set appropriate boundaries, how to feel comfortable and confident setting those boundaries. Those are important parts of tending to yourself and learning how to meet yourself, how to really understand yourself and get to know yourself so that you can ultimately be connected to the best version of you, to the most calm version of you, the most compassionate version of you, the most curious and non-judgmental version of you. And it's really up to you, whatever that means to you, whatever those words are for you. It can be the fiercest version of you, the most confident version of you. I help you figure out what those things are for you. If you don't know, it's okay to not know. It's okay to be unsure, because this is a process, learning to attune to ourselves. And when you have been in these cycles of attuning to other people and your environment in order to try to stay safe, it's very understandable that then disconnecting from that cycle and trying to attune to yourself can actually be really overwhelming and challenging. So we just want to honor that. If that's the truth for you, there's nothing wrong with you. And just to be aware that this idea of being an empath or being a highly sensitive person, it's just a way of understanding yourself. It's just a lens of understanding yourself a little deeper. We don't have to ultimately, attach to these labels. They don't mean anything. They don't take away from who you are as a person. So knowing that being an empath is not a weakness, and it's not something that you have to necessarily label yourself as. It might be important for you, though, to have that identity just to be able to understand yourself more deeply. So I honor that if that's the truth for you. Leave me, comments below if you have any questions about this topic or my topic from last week of how empaths attune to their environment. I'd love to hear from you, or send me a DM if you're interested in learning more and working together. I hope you have a beautiful day. It was a pleasure to hold this space with you, and I look forward to talking to you.